We live in such a reward-driven system. And what I mean by that is every single time you do something, you typically get something out of it within a week or 2 weeks. For example, your schoolwork. If you work on a project, then regardless of how long it takes you, you'll get your grade back within a couple weeks. If you're working, then you get your paycheck within a week or within a couple weeks. And that has got to be the hardest thing about betting on yourself, about starting your side hustle, about chasing your dreams, really. It's not something that you get rewarded for right away. It takes time. And in that time, you will get very discouraged. And today, that's one of my days. I don't know if this is going to pay off. And I'm still figuring it out. And I still struggle with being patient with myself. And I'm learning a lot about the lack of empathy that I have and how much accountability I have for myself. And so I'm working on those things. I'm also working on trying to get promoted. I'm not upset about where I am in my job. I'm very grateful that I'm still working in these times, and I'm very sorry if you're not. And I honestly don't have anything promising to tell you, because nobody has anything promising to tell you, but for the fact that you'll get through it, that you're strong enough to get through it, that the situation that you're going through is meant for you and you can handle it and you can't give up. And today is the day where I tell myself that the most. Like, I can't give up. That's just not in my cards. It's not something that's gonna make me happy in the long run. And I just have to find that strength today, somehow. I don't know how. I just know that I need to. I know that it'll be good for me. I know that I'm strong enough. I know that I've made it through tougher times or similar times. I know that I've had this feeling too many times to count. I know that others have done it and others are doing it. And I try and focus on that. I try and hone in on the fact that it's possible and I can't give up. I cannot give up. And it's hard, because I want to put out content and receive positive feedback, not just feedback, but I want to receive positive feedback. And, I want to be able to feel like I'm making a difference. And I want to confirm that this is the right way for me to figure it out. I want to make sure that this is the right path that I'm on. But honestly, there's no real way to do that. There isn't a way to look ahead and say, oh, yep, that was a good decision. Like lately, I've been debating on whether or not I'm going to keep my one-page website up, right? Because the maintenance on it, which is relatively low, but there's fees on it, and is that really beneficial? Do I really need to do that now for something that I didn't pour my heart into, for something that I was just trying to put out? And fortunately for me, I have 60 days to figure that out because it's a trial. And in those 60 days, if I determine that, I'm proud of myself for doing it and trying it and recognizing that it didn't work for me and moving on as quickly as possible and not harping on it, letting myself go. If that's what I end up doing, I might get to that point in time and say, you know what, let me keep trying. Let me see if this works. The other part is starting my app. Um, I mean, it's literally right outside the idea phase, meaning I figured out what tools I'm going to use to create it, but I haven't actually sat down and done the work. And even once I do it, it's not like, oh, I launched my app and a ton of customers are gonna come because I have the greatest app on earth. Yes, it's the greatest app to me. Yes, I think a lot of people should use it. Yes, I think it will help a ton of people, especially with the pandemic that's going on right now. But that doesn't mean that the floodgates are gonna come open the moment I launch it. And so it's in those moments, like similar right now, because I haven't put the work in, and sort of that fear of what happens if it fails. And for me, it's just like, then I pivot. That's what I've come to terms with. You have to figure out what you're willing to come to terms with. If you fail, like, are you going to pivot? Are you going to decide, I really don't like this. I'm really not passionate about it? Because it's very easy to say, I want to be a pilot, and then go and fly a plane, and it's nothing like you imagine it to be. And that's the thing about many positions is we're all like, oh, that's an easy job, or, I could do that for sure, anything like that. Not necessarily. We all have our own passions. We all have our own interests, and it drastically changes our ability to accomplish something. So if I want to be a pilot and it ends up bothering my ears, there's my dream out the door. Do I try and figure out another way? I mean, depending on the requirements of being a pilot. Similarly with playing sports, I really love soccer, and I haven't played it in years, and I've been contemplating about playing it again. But at the same time, am I really gonna enjoy it? Am I gonna be in a place where it's just for fun, or am I gonna be in a place where it's very competitive? Because I have a competitive nature, I feel like it would be very competitive, and it's just something that I would like to do for fun. My point is is that you don't really know what to do in those moments of discouragement. Like, you literally have to talk to yourself and tell yourself it's okay, don't give up, because there aren't any words to encourage you. And in those moments, you have to be disciplined enough to do it. And just because someone else is more disciplined than you doesn't mean that they're better than you. It just means you haven't found something that you're willing to give your all into. And that happens periodically. On some practice days for soccer or whatever sport you want to play, you're going to have days where you just don't want to do it, where you just can't, where it's just not worth it to you. And you have to figure out how to get out of that and not be discouraged, and to know, one day this will pay off and you could end up in the Olympics. But it takes a lot. And honestly, you're literally the only one who can pick yourself up. You want other people to. I'm not going to pretend like I don't. You do want other people to, and eventually it will come. You'll have people that support you. You'll have fans, your colleagues, coworkers, teammates, classmates, whatever. You will have a point in time where you will get some of that support, but it's not around all the time. Motivation isn't around all the time. Discouragement does come in on the regular. And you have to practice telling yourself, it's okay, I got this, I can do this, I'm not going to give up, please don't give up. You're essentially giving up on you. Literally, the only time you should give up is if you no longer have any interest and it does the exact opposite for you and makes you miserable. There are certain things that you have to push through. I mentioned in the past that I worked 2 jobs. I would do that, and it's not that I enjoyed it, it's what would get me to my next step. And that's where I am right now, is I completed the website so that it'll get me to my next step, because I felt like it was holding me back from working on the app. And now I don't have that excuse anymore. Like I got rid of it so that I can work on my app. Now that gives me 60 days to work on it. And let's say I don't get it done. It's still okay, because I got to that point of starting it. And I know I will get to that point because I have the discipline and I trust myself. With that being said, I still have moments like today where it's harder to see that and it's harder to acknowledge it. And even though I say it, it's harder to believe it. And I have to dig deep, super deep, to find the strength to have faith, because these thoughts that are going on in my head, nobody else hears them but me. The mistakes that I make, that I claim I make, nobody sees them but me. Like, for instance, I haven't put hashtags on some of my posts, and it's really bothered me, and it sometimes will slow me down, and I legitimately have to tell myself that's no reason to stop posting. Sorry. That's no reason to stop posting. That's no reason to quit. That's no reason to skip a day, skip a week. There's a different method that I want to use, and I haven't quite figured it out. And that's sort of hindering me from taking the next step. But I know that I'll get there. It's just today I feel discouraged. So if you feel discouraged, know that you're not alone and that it's okay, and try and have faith and believe in yourself. But if you don't, just know that I love you, I believe in you, and I want you to have a happy day. So thank you, and please help defund the police.